Hello, sixth grade. Welcome to your Wednesday lesson. Today is September the 16th, and I hope everybody had a good Tuesday. Okay, so I'm going to cover your assignment in regards to your plot workshop. We started this on Monday, so we were gradually working our way up, and we've already talked about exposition. We've talked about setting, conflict, characters. We talked a little bit about rising actions. Now we're going to talk about climax, but I'm also going to do just a really quick review on some things. But first, let's go ahead and look at our to-do list, and I'll be going over this. So just keep in mind any missing work. If you happen to be absent or if you don't get to something, try to turn in that assignment the very next day if possible. If not, please communicate with me so we can work together so that you can be successful. But meeting those deadlines and turning in your work at the end of the day is really important, so that way you don't fall behind, especially this week since we're working on your friendly letter, which we'll talk about in a minute. But again, if you have any questions about any work that's missing, please, you can send me a message via email or in Schoology. Okay, so I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit real quick. Yes, we are going to continue with our plot practice and focusing on climax of a story. And I wanted to also remind you that you do have your mentor sentence in Wednesday's folder. Right here, I do have all of the activities for the one sentence that we are working on this week. However, if you go into Wednesday's folder, you will see that your assignment is in there to complete. I've broken that down for you. So here we are in Wednesday. Okay, so you're going to click on the mentor sentence, and you're going to go ahead and you will work on this, and you will turn this in so that I can go over it. And the assignment is in here in your Schoology. And I know it takes a little bit to load up. So here it goes. Here's the date up here, Wednesday. Same sentence that you've had since Monday, different activity. Be sure you click on the link right here to help answer your questions for today. What is the sentence's complete subject? And what is the sentence's simple subject? So you're going to want to click on that, review that, so that you can be familiar with the terms. Okay? All right. You come on out of here. Let's come on back. So we're going to talk about your friendly letter in a while, but let's first go over your assignment here for the plot workshop. Okay? So as I mentioned earlier, we've gone over exposition, setting, conflict, characters. And there's a few other elements within the characters that I wanted to review with you, okay? And all of these activities center around this really cute short film called Glued, okay? But let's kind of backtrack a little bit. Now, there were some characterizations that we talked about yesterday, and I wanted just to kind of bring this up again to remind you that these types of conflicts are really important that you are able to identify. We have in here person-to-person conflict. That's when the main character struggles with another character. Another type of conflict that you may come across in any given story or novel is a person versus nature. That's where the main character struggles with forces of nature beyond their control. Like maybe the story's about a character fighting to survive a tornado, or maybe the character is trying to survive in the wild. Okay? Person versus self. Now, this is where the main character struggles with an internal conflict. And notice the word internal, the first two letters. The first two letters are inside. They're struggling with something on the inside. So it's a story about a character maybe who is battling some depression because maybe they lost a pet or a loved one. Or it's a story about a character who is fighting the desire to maybe give in to something. So they're struggling with those emotions on the inside, okay? Now, person versus society. This is where the main character struggles with unfairness in society. So a story may be about a group of young adults protesting the government, maybe, they're protesting a certain law that's being passed. Maybe they raised the age to earn your driver's permit to 18. Maybe that's worthy of protesting. But anyway, that would be an example of person versus society. And real quick, I wanted just to touch up on this right here, protagonist and antagonist. Most of you have heard of the terms, and most really good fiction stories will have two important characters, a protagonist and an antagonist. Really easy to identify, guys, if you just review these. The protagonist, think of the positive, pro, right, is the main character in the story, usually the hero at the end of the story. And these are some of the traits that character would have. They're loyal, they're brave, determined, kind, and caring, all the good things, right? All the good things. Now, the antagonist is the bad guy in the story, okay? Usually in conflict with the protagonist, with the good person. And their traits are rude, they're usually mean or jealous, they can be greedy, they can be lazy, all of the negative. So just kind of keep those two terms in mind, protagonist and antagonist, okay? All right, moving on. So now we're going to get to the good stuff about climax. And one of the things I wanted to point out to you is climax can be the most important or most exciting, most surprising part of any story. Okay, and is sometimes known as the turning point. Now, we find climax even in movies. So I wanted you to think about this as you were reading or as you were watching the film, right? So let's think about some of the stories that we've read or some of the books that you've read. At the climax, the author will surprise the reader, force the main character to face and deal with the problem or challenge in the story. Think about the film we watched, Glued. Right? What were you surprised about? What did the main character, the mom, have to face and deal with the problem? What was the challenge? Again, at the climax, the author will create a change in the direction of the story. So think about the three elements that were rising, okay, the rising action to the climax that led to the change. Think about what the mom did. So some questions to think about to build understanding. How has the problem intensified? How has it gotten worse, right? How has it gotten stronger? How has the main character come face to face with the problem? How was the author building suspense in the story to lead to the climax? So think about those things as you think about the movie, the little clip Glued. And of course, definitely think about these things when you're reading a good story. So I'm going to have you watch this short clip on your own on Climax. It's not even a minute. I think these notes in here that we've talked about should definitely shed a little bit more light or serve as a really good review for many, many of you. Okay. So now we're going to turn to our activity. Climax and the turning point. So I want you to think about, and you can watch the clip here again if you need to, describe the climax in the story. So you're going to have to come out of this mode and come into hit escape to come to this screen so you can click in the box and type in your answer. So describe the climax in the story. Think about how you answered your assignment yesterday on the exposition, the three things, because there was more than three, but the three events that led up to the mom doing what she did. As the climax was occurring, how did you think the story would end? Put a little note in there. And then just a brief moment occurs in the climax that was, here's a new term, foreshadowed in the exposition. It's pretty hard to spot. Did you see it? Hint, hint. It's an object. Okay, so think about that, guys. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Hope you guys have a good day, and we'll see you soon.